Flaco, typical Flacco. I'm happy we won. I will never forget. He calls me. He's like, hey, what time do we need to be in? I'm trying to get a flight to go see my 4 kids that live in New Jersey. And I'm like, we're at 10 a.m. tomorrow. We'll get you in, get you out, and you'll be done. You catch a flight. So, oh, okay. Then you guys FaceTime me about an hour. And you're like, what are we doing? We're making our 40-year-old quarterback, come to meetings on a
Let's go see his kids, coach.
Welcome to Fitz and Whit. We're back, baby.
We're back.
We are back, Whit. I know everybody missed us. I'm Fitz, that's Whit, and this is a Wave Original. Subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. Don't forget to give us 5 stars and follow the show on social media at Fitz and Whit. That's Fitz, A-N-D, Whit. New episodes every week. Whit, tell us, and this is your guest. Yeah. Tell us who the special guest is for today.
All right, joining us today is a guy tasked with navigating the AFC every year. He's built one of the most explosive offenses in the league. He's led his team to Super Bowl 56. The head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, a friend of mine, Zac Taylor. Welcome, Coach. Let's go. ZT in the house, baby.
Appreciate it.
He's in the house.
Who day?
Yeah, who day, baby. I'm rocking my hoodie, baby.
I love it.
You consider you and Whit friends?
What?
I consider me and Whit friends. Yeah, we were there.
Okay,
What kind of start is that?
Talk to me about the origins of your guys' friendship.
I met him. Well, Whit's probably only a year or two younger than me, but we met. We signed him as probably our first free agent we signed. I got there in 2017 when Sean got hired. He hired me as this assistant receiver coach. And I think, Whit, were you the first free agent? I mean, I know they all happen.
You know what's wild? And he just went back there as a coach, Robert Woods. It was me and Robert Woods. So we were the first two, and now Robert Woods is the assistant wide receiver coach.
Robert has huge shoes to fill as the assistant receiver coach for Rams. There's been a lot of good ones come through there.
I want to go all the way back to your journey as a quarterback. And most specifically, though, Whit and I did a RV trip this year, and I've never really been to a big-time college football atmosphere.
Harvard,
played in the Ivy League.
Okay.
Harvard, was a big-time atmosphere, but in general, I haven't seen an SEC game. I've been to some ASU games growing up, but we went to Lincoln and we got to experience a Nebraska home football game. How did you end up playing at Nebraska?
That's a great question. I'm from Norman, Oklahoma. My dad played at Oklahoma for Coach Swisher in the late 70s. So I went to every OU game my entire life. So Nebraska was an arch rival, a respectful rival, though. Not like a hate rival like Texas or Oklahoma State. It was a respected rivalry. So I went to Wake Forest out of high school. I wasn't highly recruited, transferred to a junior college. And Bill Callahan had just gotten the job at Nebraska at 2004 and wanted to run the West Coast offense, having come from the Raiders. And so he was undergoing a shift. They had a bunch of option-based quarterbacks there that they'd recruited over 40 years. And he was trying to shift to more of a passing game. And so he needed a junior college quarterback to come in. And fortunately, I was the guy that he picked. And so easy decision for me to go to Nebraska. And so I played there for 2 years under Coach Callahan.
I think the best part of that, Zach, is he kind of undersold how we showed up in Nebraska. We had been on a 12-and-a-half-hour bus ride through the night. We had gotten permission to come to the game and do all that stuff and park the bus. So we went 12-and-a-half hours through the night. We stop at a cafe in that area, and it's still one of the, I think, our favorite parts of the whole trip. Stopping in this cafe, hanging out with people there. You forget sometimes, obviously, living in LA, living in Phoenix, just what's so awesome about America, traveling the country. And so we would stop in these places and get to visit with people and just catch up. It was really cool experience. I'd never been to that area either. So to go to there, we pull in 12-and-a-half hours of traveling, go to this cafe, and then I can't remember the sports store, Fitz. What's it called? You told
Shields.
me. Shields.
He's never been to a Shields.
Never been to a Shields. And so we go and we went and ran through there. Just you can imagine the antics of that. We're having a good time checking that out. We buy some Nebraska gear. We go to the game. That was a really cool experience.
The Runza.
The SEC. Yeah, the Runza. Don't forget about the Runza. That was
never
special.
Had it.
Never had it. Okay.
You never had a Runza?
Cabbage in the meat. I just
not your thing.
I'm sure it's great, but it wasn't.
It was good. It was quality.
Wait, hold on.
I'll take your word for it.
What? You have some weird dietary stuff?
No, trust me. I'll eat anything, but cabbage in the hamburger patty is what just turned me away. So I am.
I'm with you.
A bit ashamed that my 2 years there, I never even tried one. They're only I think when it's under 20 degrees, they sell them for whatever the temperature is. If it's 18 degrees, I think they're 18 cents, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm a little off on that. But I remember when I was there or something like that. I still turned it down, even being a broke college kid.
Hey, Coach, what do you remember about 2019 Bengals Dolphins? I mean, that was one of the wildest endings to a game of all time.
Every situational clip we still show is from that game. Recovering an onside kick, down clock with an injured receiver, picking Tyler Boyd up to avoid the 10-second runoff, and everyone facing the correct direction. Vertigo, 5 verticals on the last play of the game, hitting Tyler Eifert with, I think no time left or a couple seconds left. We were down 35-12 with about 6 minutes left. And I mean, we all know, the loser of that game was going to get the better draft pick. And I think that shows we were down 35-12. And as coaches and players, we did not care. We wanted to win more than when you had lost as much as we had, you did not want to, you wanted to win every time you got a chance. And so we fought back and did everything we could to win that game and came up short in overtime. But yeah, one of the all-time games that people don't know about because nobody was watching.
Right.
Nobody was watching.
A Dolphin fan or a Bengals fan, nobody was watching that game. But yeah, it was quite the game.
And it's why you guys got Burrow, and it's why the Dolphins got Tua. Like, it's just it was so crazy, and the ending of it, like Andy running in, 2-point conversion running in, and just all the things that had to happen for you guys to get to overtime. And then in overtime, both of it was kind of back and forth. It was like, oh my God, is this going to end up in a tie? Like, is anybody going to score here?
Yeah.
That was a wild one. Was that your first year in Cincy?
Yeah, it was my first year. We didn't win a game till December. We played Whit in London in week 8. The Rams got us, I think, 24-10. And then we played you guys in week, whatever that was, 16, 17, second to last game of the season. And we went 2-14 that first year, 2019, my first year.
So what about your progression? 10 openings this last offseason for head coaches. We'll have some first-time head coaches in there. But what about you looking back when you started with Cincinnati to now and the things that you've learned, the progression that you've gone through? How have you grown as a head coach?
Absolutely. I mean, year one, I just come from LA. You've seen firsthand how you could turn a organization into a Super Bowl contender immediately. And so just the process of getting everybody to buy in, how we were going to do everything, how we're going to invest our walkthrough reps, our practice, what our meeting structure is like, getting everyone on board with that. Is a challenge doesn't just because someone did it different doesn't mean it was wrong. It's just we're going to do it differently. And so just getting everyone to understand that and get on board with it. And that was a process, and just believing in that and getting people to believe in it. I was fortunate that I believed in it and a lot of our staff believed in it because I just witnessed it and just lived it. I think if I had come from somewhere other than LA that hadn't just played in the Super Bowl and hadn't just had that turnaround, maybe I'd be saying things that I didn't fully believe, that I just thought you're supposed to say, in that situation. And, but having been there and lived it and breathed it, I believed it. And, our players that stuck with us for those first 3 years believed it. And there's so many unsung heroes along the way. Andy Dalton, Gio Bernard, that didn't get to play in the Super Bowl in 2021, but helped us shift the culture or the way that we wanted the culture to be. They didn't get to play in that game, that Super Bowl game against the Rams, but they were certainly guys that you'll forever cherish because they helped us get to that point and build us to that moment.
Yeah, I think Fitz and I talk a lot of times through our little brief stint in Cincinnati together. Like, we even forget, in 07, 08, that kind of time, like when things shifted there, with the franchise and some of those names that people really they never heard of them or they didn't make a Pro Bowl and they don't think of them first when they think of that. But it's amazing how many of those guys, it's like maybe they don't see it to the end,
right,
but they do. They are a huge part of that shift and who you become. And look, you were able to turn it around quickly and you guys end up in the Super Bowl. And then you look at the talent you guys have been able to put together offensively, especially really how dominant y'all have been. When you think about that, Zach, and now it's like, all right, maybe you didn't win the Super Bowl, but in this window, you've got all the talent and the ability to go win it again. What are the things that you feel like you're learning from the last couple seasons when obviously you've seen your quarterback injured, you've seen some different things, but every year is a learning experience and how hard it is to stay at the top and to stay one of those teams that's competing for a Super Bowl every year?
You got to bring your young guys along very quickly because you're going to have a lot of them, when you're paying your superstars. And I'm thankful that we are. I'm thankful that we get to pay these guys because if you didn't have them, it's a tough go. So just bringing these young guys along and building leadership along the way. We in LA, we acquired you and you came in as an instant leader and took control of guys, but also developing, the Andrew Woodwards aren't going to be there forever. And so you got to develop those guys behind them. And sometimes it's easier when you bring in a free agent because he's 5 years in, 6 years in, he's seen how it's done. He's a professional, but you also want that youth that can come through there too and really affect those young guys. And so I think that's the biggest task for me over the last couple of years, is just finding ways to develop that leadership with our younger players and not just counting on all the veterans all the time to be the guys that do that.
When I think of glue guys on your team, I think of a guy that I played with in Miami, Teddy Karras.
Yeah.
And a guy that's never had a bad day. Everything matters to him, whether it's a walkthrough rep or, a Monday squat after a tough game. The guy just eats and breathes and lives football and loves it. And even just his impact in the community, it seems like he's really been embraced by Cincinnati, the Cincy hat and the work that he's doing. How cool is it to bring a guy in like that, veteran leadership guy, and to have it work out the way it has?
Well, two things you hit on there. I would say he hasn't just integrated himself in the community, he's taken over the community. He really has. And everybody knows him. Everybody's got a Cincy hat. I've got plenty of them that he's given me. He gives me some with my initials on them sometimes. I'm like, I'm not going to wear the one with ZT on the side of it. Your bread and butter.
He charges us for the hats.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So he's going to be learning that on this podcast as he watches it. But I do appreciate
I love it.
Hats. But the second part that people will never see is the walkthrough Ted. Walkthrough Ted is locked in Ted. And it's very critical that we do it exactly right. And so you need guys that set the standard. And I remember, watching you, Whit, you would solely, kind of set the standard. That was the first I'd ever really seen it like that in a walkthrough, how critical that was going to be. That's way more than 50% of the reps you're going to get over the course of the week is in the walkthrough reps. So you better get it right and it better be with the technique. And I remember I might have stolen a couple reels of film, from some of the walkthroughs we had at the Rams to show our guys when I got here. And one of them that I showed Whit was our ballroom walkthroughs in Colorado when we were about to play the Chiefs in Mexico City.
Oh yeah.
Whatever happened, we were in Colorado for some reason, and we were in the ballroom. And I just remember those walkthroughs because that was really all we got, and they were unbelievable walkthroughs. And I've always just tried to film that video just to be able to show people that this is what it looks like at all times. It doesn't matter where. And so certainly learned a lot from my time going through that with you.
See, Fitz, I'm serious sometimes.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that.
No, but you're right. It is massive. But honestly, let's be real. Sully and I were just trying to get out of half a practice. So if we walk through, awesome.
You guys
we walk through, awesome.
You guys
we would go, hey, Sean, we probably don't need to practice because you know how good we walked through earlier. You know what I mean? That was our spin on that one, right? So
and Sean, Sean was on board with that too.
He was.
We went practice in that basketball gym on the Callaloo campus.
Yep.
And we scored 38 or something. Sean was like, that's enough for me. We're just going to walk through the rest of the year. I'm really good. I've never experienced that before. But yeah, you guys were all in the same.
That was the benefit of having a young coach like Fitz. So like even at that point early, even the year before at 17, the guys didn't fly in the front of the plane. And so we were like, hey, we're going to Dallas. And we're like, man, if we have this road trip, the wives are coming. And we're like, man, if we can find a way to go put it together and win this game, coach, we should ride up front. And you can imagine Fitz on a wives trip, all these women on the way there got to ride up front with the coaches, the whole deal. And then it's like on the way back, hey, I think it was Tony Pastores have to be like, hey, actually everyone's moving to the back of the plane. The players are in the front. But it was like, it was awesome because it was like, that's the benefits of having a young head coach. He's like, hey man, you guys win. You guys find ways to win. Like we'll do whatever you guys want to do. So it was awesome. He was adaptable. I'll say that he was adaptable.
That's what I learned from Sean. I mean, it just because it's always been done this way in the league doesn't mean that that's how we're going to do it. And I learned that from Sean. And we didn't wear suits on the plane. It was the first I'd ever experienced that. And there's just a lot of different ways you could do it and still find ways to win.
Zach, I've always been fascinated by Joe Burrow.
And scared.
Whit knows him better than I do, but just scares the living daylights out of me. His intensity, his focus. I can only imagine coaching him on a daily basis, but even just me reaching out to Teddy Karras and Mike Gesicki, guys I played with, and them telling me he's a scary guy. When you first meet him, like, they don't want to piss off Joe. But how is it? How has your relationship grown, I guess, over the years? And how would you describe Joe on a day-to-day basis?
First meet him, Mike is still scared of him. So I don't know what he's told you.
He is. He is still scared of him.
He's his own person, and he doesn't feel the need to be somebody else because of the platform or the role he's in. He's going to be true to himself, and you have to appreciate that. And I do, because you see guys that morph into something that they think they're supposed to be, and so you're always getting genuine Joe Burrow. And certainly over however many years I've coached him now, 6 going on 7 years, I understand him a lot better every year that's passed and respect his process. And I found myself, I'll ask the stupid question to him, and it's, not reading into too much of how he said something. And so, love that he's our quarterback, love working with him every single day. Wouldn't trade him for anybody on planet Earth to come play quarterback for the Bengals. And, he's a champion. And the only level, he's, I guess, high school, he didn't win the state championship, but I know that drives him every day to win that Super Bowl. And so, I'm happy he's the guy leading the charge for us.
Yeah, when you look at it, Zach, really, I mean, what you guys have been able to build on offense, and obviously everyone talks about Joe Burrow, and his health and making sure he's healthy. But it's been really special, when you guys have been healthy, the production. I even think back to a couple of years ago, the run you went on, to almost make the playoffs even without him. And then last year, and it's like, obviously that's something that's a strength of this football team. But last year you made a change. On defense, as the year at the beginning of the year probably wasn't to the level you guys wanted. In the back half of the year, you saw some young guys starting to grow and develop. So when you look going into this offseason and really this time of year, what's kind of the focus for how you get that level of play around as a football team? Everything we do, we want it all to be held to a certain standard. Yeah. As you look to kind of chase that standard, what do you think's in the future here for the Bengals?
Well, I think I saw a lot of guys grow significantly in the last half of the year on defense. A lot of guys that are younger players got valuable experience, and you saw them start to elevate their game, and I know they'll make a big jump here in year 2 and year 3 for those guys. DJ Turner is a guy for me that had a monster year. Yeah. Now we know going into next season we could really lean on from a leadership standpoint and his caliber of play and how he's brought guys along too. Miles Murphy I thought took a huge jump last year as a defensive end. Jamar Stewart continued to come along. We got 2 young linebackers that played tons of snaps for us. That's going to reap dividends. And then you acquire talent over the next 3 months, and so these next 2 phases of free agency and the draft, you get to add to all that. So really excited about the process we're going through right now. Everybody being on the same page, and so again, it's a real exciting time to be a Bengals fan and be coach of the Bengals, and, I'm fired up to get through this process and start playing some games.
I want to go back to last year, the game that we had, Thursday Night Football. Gosh. You guys are playing the Steelers. Old man Joe Flacco, you guys pick him up. He plays against the Packers the week before. People don't understand how difficult it is because some of these guys are making it easy. Like Joe, it's not like he had any familiarity in the offense. I mean, he's out there just wheeling and dealing. I actually had a chance to catch up with him before the game. He's just walking out of the hotel. We were staying in the hotel, and he's like, God, I hate these night games. Like, what am I supposed to do for the next 2 hours? Just meandering around. But Tomlin's bitching about you guys picking him up and Andrew Berry giving him up and all that. But how cool of a night was that with Flacco just dealing against the Steelers on Thursday night?
It was a blast, and I mean, you could make a movie on the week before against Green Bay, him coming in on Tuesday and going and playing and, giving us a chance to win that game on the road in Green Bay. And then the next week on a short week, so no practice reps, it's going to be all walkthrough because you're playing a Thursday night game. So he really has had 1 day of real full speed reps. He's going out there and obviously played unbelievable. Kept his own read for 18 yards or whatever it was. Because
that was so good.
On the ball and couldn't move. And so he said, like Flacco, typical Flacco, like, screw it. I'm just going to snap it and go. And Highsmith crashes and he keeps it. And but it wasn't funny at the time, trust me. But during the game, he couldn't understand. There was a couple formations we had that he'd studied them on the piece of paper and he'd said them in a walkthrough, but the context of me saying them in the headset, he just couldn't process what the word was that I was saying. Whiff, like whiff right is a slot formation for us. And he couldn't get past that word. And so you can't call the rest of the play when you can't even picture what the word is that I'm trying to say in the formation. So there's so many times you'd see him back out of the huddle. And there was one, we had this play action. It was a little bit of a unique formation play action. And he kept trying to call it. And the route was a retro route by T. And he just told him, like, it's retro. You guys know what to do. And they're like, we do not know what to do. You need to tell us more. So he just backed out. We called a timeout. But hearing the receivers tell that story, we're in the huddle. We can't understand the formation. He tells us, you guys just know what to do. We're all like, no, we don't know what to do. We need a lot more from you. So we got to burn the timeout and get the play called. And so it all worked out. But it's just, I'm happy we won. I will never forget. He calls me, I'm back in my office after the game. It's probably 11:45. I come in here and decompress, for a while after the game. And he calls me. He's like, hey, what time do we need to be in tomorrow morning? I'm trying to get a flight to go see my 4 kids that live in New Jersey. And I'm like, we're at 10 a.m. tomorrow. We'll get you in, get you out, and you'll be done. You catch a flight. So, oh, okay. Yeah. So they appreciate it, and then you guys FaceTime me about an hour. And you're like, what are we're making our 40-year-old quarterback, come to meetings on a
Let's
Friday.
go see his kids, Coach.
It hadn't really hit me like that. And he wasn't going to ask me. He's too nice of a guy. He didn't want to ask me. So you guys did the hard job for him. And I called him up immediately. I said, get out of here. You're not going to meetings tomorrow. And so it was good. You guys, it was my 7th year as a coach, but I still got a lot to learn dealing with veteran players that way. So I appreciate your help.
So he came up to the rooftop with us and we're drinking a few beers and then we hear that he's got to go in tomorrow. And it's one of those things that, the guy just played his ass off 2 weeks in a row. He had no idea what any of the plays were. Let him go see his kids, Coach. But you're adaptable. That's what you learned.
That's
to
it,
be adaptable, baby. But yeah, Whit was a big one in making sure he got home to see his kids.
Hey, Fitz, you know how you're in a different mindset during the offseason versus the regular season?
Yeah, that's just what I was thinking about, Whit.
And for whatever mindset you're in, Rose Sparks can keep your bedroom game in championship form whenever your partner is ready.
I'm always thinking that I'm with you, and then you always take a real hard turn, Whit.
And we're excited to tell you what Rose Sparks are all about.
Rose Sparks are a 2-in-1 prescription treatment for guys who want harder and more controlled erections. They hit the bloodstream fast, because they dissolve under the tongue, and getting hard means there's less waiting to perform.
Plus, its dual-action formula stays active in your system for up to 36 hours, so you can be ready for the second half and even a little overtime.
If prescribed, new sexual health patients get $15 off their first order of Sparks on a recurring plan.
Connect with the provider at ro.co/fitsandwit. To find out if prescription Rose Sparks are right for you, that's ro.co/fitsandwit for $15 off your first order.
Sparks is a compounded drug product. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. For full safety information, go to ro.co/safety-info.
That was awesome. That was a lot of fun. That was an awesome game. And Fitz and I actually did a live show the night before in Cincinnati on Wednesday. And Teddy came and we talked a lot about his foundation and just the city. And I know that Fitz and I walked out, obviously as, having since played there, I haven't gotten to spend lots of days there, in Cincinnati, but getting to be there, have some fans come listen to me and Fitz, who used to play there forever ago, just talk to them about their Bengals and football in general and life. It was really special, and it reminded me just what a special place Cincinnati is. And I think even looking at that game, I was telling somebody the other day, that's one of the coolest parts of my time in Cincy is win or lose, the fans and their passion and their belief in the team and, all those things. And when you look at it, Zach, obviously, listen, these fans want a championship. They want, the Bengals to be successful. That's all they really want. How do you as a coach deal with that when it's all right, we're not meeting the expectations even we have for ourselves. And I know people are upset, but I'm going to continue to kind of remember that I can't be irrational. I can't make emotional decisions in free agency or trades or whatever, but I've got to continue to kind of make decisions that are in the best for our future as a football team, from a calm state. if that makes sense.
Well, I know it's cliche, but no one's more frustrated when we don't win than me. It's my life. I have to live it every single day.
Right.
I got to live with it every interaction I ever have. I got to walk in the stadium and try to find a way to lead these guys. So it's, I love the passion because it means people care. But no one gets more frustrated when we don't win than me. And I think, what we've always said to our players is, be a guy who's consistent every day. We know who we're going to get when you walk in the locker room every morning. So who am I if my personality is going to change based on a win or loss, and the players don't know what they're going to get from me when they walk in the building, and I'm demanding that I know what I'm going to get from them. So I've kind of always operated on that level of they're going to know who I'm going to get. And I want to be direct. I want to be honest, and I'll be critical of them. But if they come in my office, they know that it's not going to be just a one-sided conversation. I want to hear them, and I want to hear what they have to say, and I want to make them a better man, a better player. And so again, my personality doesn't change based on the wins or losses. I've endured a complete roller coaster since I've been here. Every year has been a little bit different. Highs and the lowest of lows. And so again, I've seen what it all can look like, and I know what it takes to get back to the top, and that's what we're set on doing.
What about a guy like Jamar Chase? How has he grown, whether it's maturity as a man off the field? Because we just get to see the guy on the football field, and what
insane,
what an unbelievable time. It was fun listening to Flacco be like, I get to throw to T and Jamar. Like, I've never had this before. This is amazing. But,
what was it? Sherm asking him what a coverage was one time. He goes, "I don't care. I
don't care.
T and Jamar,
throw it to Jamar."
Yeah.
But what about Jamar's growth for you guys as a leader and just as a person?
He's unbelievable. First of all, he'll always be one of my all-time favorites, just because of how he goes about his business. He's one of the hardest workers. Whether people get to see all the ins and outs of that or not, how he takes care of his body, how he is approached to practice and training camp, regular season practices is second to none. And, just his growth, his understanding of what the defense is trying to do to him, how they're trying to eliminate him, how we're going to utilize him to make sure that they can't just take him away and still make him a part of this game. And then just the leadership. Two things. I always see him taking a lot of younger players under his wing and trying to educate them when he sees them maybe not going down the right path. Number two, he's a guy that brings energy in practice. It's, you can always have different opinions on guys talking trash during practice and, becoming a scene but sometimes we need that energy, and it comes from Jamar, and he's not afraid to start it up with the defense and start sniping at guys, and it creates energy for everybody, and it elevates everybody's ready to play and level of play. And so I appreciate him, what he does to us. I know what he does to defenses. I know, it's a long week for guys preparing for him and Joe and T. And so I never take that for granted because, we're lucky to have a guy like Jamar.
Zach, when you sit there in the offseason, so, I've coached a little 8th grade football, so I got a lot of experience being a head coach, a lot of experience. But no, I getting to be involved in that. And then obviously some guys that I've gotten a chance just to mentor or be around with my kids now moving into high school. I think this happens much more at the youth sports level, but then I'm sure in college and the NFL, it's there. But like when you end a season like this past year, obviously there's a lot of different reasons, for success or not with injuries, everything else. But you don't meet your expectations. What's kind of your process for, all right, now from going into next year, how do I determine, all right, do we change a lot of things we do in OTAs? Do we change a lot of the things we do in training camp? Like, what really goes into that process of being able to say, all right, we didn't meet expectations, regardless of factors, let's take all the factors out. Like, how do we make sure that our process is the best process that we have? Because we've always got to be willing to adapt that as well.
Yeah, two things. I think when I came out of this season, like the vacation diminished, for our staff. It was,
right.
We gotta get this right, and we got to help the personnel department. We supplement them. That's our view
right.
in the off season. We supplement the personnel department, so we want to make sure that they got all the information from us, and so we're going to spend more time doing that. We're going to be in January and get after that, and so that we can help them as much as possible. But to your further question, I think the biggest thing that I say going into OTAs and going into training camp is just because we've always done it a certain way doesn't mean it's the right way or the wrong. We always got to be ready to adjust and keep guys on their toes a little bit. And so maybe we had a successful run after the offseason we had or training camp. That doesn't mean we're going to do it the same way the next year. And so we shifted. We used to always practice in the afternoon in training camp. This year we practice in the morning. It was a totally different schedule. I had to get on board with it because the way you install and walk through and practice shifted for me and how I believed. And we started the season 2-0. And then Joe, he got hurt in that second game, and then we go play on the road at the Vikings, on the road at the Broncos, and you guys know when I say those two defenses and
I know what that means.
In the back.
Good luck, Jake Browning.
Yeah, that's a challenge.
Yeah.
And so I look at, we started 2-2, and that's not what we want. Worse than that, but it necessarily wasn't a product of how we did training camp. We lost our starting quarterback. That's as much as anything. And so keeping him healthy is a priority. But every year I look at the offseason schedule, I look at the training camp schedule. What are some things we could tweak? I keep notes every single, you don't have to zoom in on this, but I've got notes dating back years of every game and every training camp practice. And so, because I'm not going to remember now, I'm not going to remember on August 5th what we did and what I'd want to change from what period we did. Okay, we did a backed up period that went 2 drives too long. So I got to do it immediately after practice for the next year, start working on the faces right after I do them in August. And then we have the season. Okay, how do we think training camp affected the season that we had, and what adjustments do we need to make? And then that way you're ready to roll. And I started working on training camp last week and trying to get my thoughts in order to make sure that we have the best training camp we can have to start the season 1-0.
Fitz, he's not joking. He years later in Cincinnati sent me some notes that him and I had made when we were together in LA. There's things I told him about the organization, like years down the road. He shows me, I still got the list. I still got the notes.
They're right in here in this drawer in here. So,
he's not playing about that.
I'm not.
That's great.
Well, I got that from, here's the real story. Okay. I became a better note taker in Sean McVay's first team meetings, because Whit and Sully and I sat in the back corner of that auditorium in LA, and Sean just started blindsiding people with these culture tests. And so again, Sean gets up there the first 2 team meetings and he gives the whole culture. It's unbelievable. You could make a whole documentary on Sean's first 3 team meetings in LA, and it's great information, but not everybody was really taking notes like that. And then the 4th team meeting, Sean starts firing questions at people.
Wade Phillips.
And so when Wade failed, it was like a wake-up call, like, oh, he can ask anybody. So I started typing, me and Shane Waldron started typing all the team meeting notes. I'd sit in the back corner like a little kid with Whit and Sully, and we'd be cheating off each other on this printout I had on the team culture notes, just in case Sean threw a question at us. But that's
Sean
how I got
asked
really
Wade Phillips.
Fitz, he threw Wade. That was his first guy. He threw Wade Phillips. So he had these acronyms, like what something would mean, and he threw Wade, like, what's this mean? Blah blah blah. And Wade just say, And after that point, everybody was on the top of their seat, like, hey, you're taking notes, you're keeping a list in your pocket, somewhere under your leg, because he was calling anybody out at any moment. Hey, tell me again what these things mean. You were on alert, that's for sure.
I was on alert. Hey, they fooled me once, shame on me. However that saying goes, I won't be in class. I can tell you that much right now.
Yeah, I love that. Just talking about changing that process, it was fun. We had Joe Brady on right after he got the job in Buffalo, and I was talking about, you saying adjusting things, morning, afternoon practice, all this, but I was talking about how, and you'd left after this, but before all this started happening, but 17, 18, it felt like, all right, this is, Sean's baby. We're trying to create this, offense. He is going to try to destroy Wade Phillips every day. It's this competition, right? And he's going to get so hot when things don't work and whatnot. And then it transitioned into Sean's getting more involved in the defense, and he's kind of really into this. And so the practice completely flipped. Like I was telling Joe Brady, I was like, man, it felt like our first 2 years, it was like third down comp drill was 3rd and 8s and, 2nd and 6. And we're going to kind of get into our 2 downs. And then all of a sudden, like 3 or 4 years in, it was like, wait, it's 3rd and 14 every freaking down. Why is it 3rd and 14? Why is it 2nd and 12? Whatever it may be. Like it was like every down we lost on 2nd and 3rd down. First downs, we were terrible apparently at this point in his career, because now it's like, oh, okay, I want the defense to be a little more successful, and I want you guys challenged. And it's like everything would just change, even in those little things. And I think that's what's so unique about coaching is there's so many other things than just putting a roster together, picking the right players. There's all these ways of how do you challenge? How do you push and pull to get your team to be their absolute best at 1:00 on Sunday, every single week that go into doing it. And there's more things than just who's here. It's how do we operate with everybody that's here.
That's funny, because when I am on the road with Whit, I think it's all about his Visio drawings and the plays that he's drawing up, because, this dude, I can't even have a conversation with him. He's like, we're going to run outside zone like this week. And these kids,
Listen, they think I'm crazy.
Whit has Visio drawings for his 8th graders?
Oh,
Yes.
I got all kinds of Zach. I got playbooks on playbooks. All right. These kids have no idea. They look at me like, Coach, we just learned that one last week. How do we learn 22 new plays this week? I'm like, well, listen, we'll figure it out, guys. But I actually enjoy coming up with all the words and the meanings. And I just like to storytell. So I like to explain to them why we're calling them these things. And it's a lot of fun because then when they recall it, it's like a blast. It's like something that's like my greatest achievement ever. They all remember what this word means and what to do.
I wish Wade Phillips would have remembered. What about, was your dad a coach or anything? I know Press is into coaching. Was that something you both knew that you were going to do from a young age?
Probably made sense now looking back on it. My dad, he played at Oklahoma, played safety for Switzer, was a captain in 1979. They had some great teams, then was a GA. And then he went to Kansas State, was the defensive backs coach. And they got let go in the mid 80s in Oklahoma State in Kansas State. And I can understand it now. My early coaching career, they had 2 kids, me and my sister. We were probably 4 and 2. They got fired. They're in Manhattan, Kansas. And I think the options were move somewhere to West Virginia, take a job, or move back to Norman and get a real job. And so I think my mom kind of was like, let's go back home and get out of this coaching profession. And I remember that. I remember changing jobs with 2 little kids and my wife dealing with it and being like, is this really what we want to do? And so he was a coach. His background was a coach. He coached all my youth teams, coached all my football teams, all my basketball teams. I told the story before 2-a-days in high school. If it's 10 days out from 2-a-days, my dad was going to take me to a field with 10 of my friends, and he was going to put us through, drills, agility drills, DB drills. We're going to run routes. And that's 10 days before. 8 days before, I was going to lose about 2 friends. 5 days before, I was going to lose half my friends. And then the day before 2 days, I was just begging my little brother, Press, to please come train with me so that Dad didn't kill me. Because he was always pushing it. I think that's, I was fortunate to have that. It was never in a negative way. He just always asked, what's your goal? And I said, my goal is to play college football. I said, okay, well, then we got to work. You can't do what every other kid is doing if you say that that's your goal. And so I'm thankful that my dad and my mom and my brother, they were there for me every second. Anytime I wanted to play catch, he would stop whatever he was doing and go play catch with me. And so, he wasn't my high school football coach, but he was the best coach I could have had because he just allowed me to put time on task and get all the work done that I needed to get done to try to be the player I wanted to be.
That's awesome. And how old are your kids?
My son Brooks is in 8th grade. He's going to St. X High School next year.
Okay.
My son's 6th grade my son Luke is in 6th grade. Emma Claire's in 3rd and Millie is in 1st. She was born in LA my last year in LA.
Yeah. Gosh, we're getting old.
I know.
We're getting old, Zach. I got a freshman, an 8th grader, 7th grader, and a 5th grader. So we're getting old now. We're getting old.
You got a lot of chauffeuring to do. I know that. Playing basketball, football, all that stuff. You're in your car 90% of the time.
Melissa's just a professional Uber driver at this point that doesn't get paid. So there's no doubt. Zach, listen, Fitz has got 7 of them. He can't even fit in a minivan.
That's unbelievable.
So you can imagine his world.
What's your range? What's the age range?
So my oldest is a freshman in college now, and then my youngest is in 1st grade. And we have them every other year. Bop, 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 bop. But it's interesting because I don't know how you are. I don't know if the boys and girls both play sports or into sports yet, but it's like we constantly get into this with my wife. My wife was an athlete in college, and I sometimes treat the boys different than I treat the girls. Like after, the dad talks after a game, the boys were in the front seat and you're never watching a third strike again. Yeah. That kind of thing where the girls, it's like, you did great. Like I love your effort.
Let's get ice cream, honey.
Let's get ice cream. Like, I don't know how you are, if you feel that as well, or if do your boys play football? The 8th grade play football?
My sons are older, so just naturally they're going to get a stronger opinion from me right now. They both play football, and you see youth parents, and sometimes it can be hard. And so I'm not perfect. I try not to say anything during any game. We get in the car, and I try to lead with a positive. I try to lead with, man, your effort was unbelievable, but we can't have the turnovers. It's whatever it's going to be. Right. I'm going to get there eventually. But I try my best not to talk to officials. I always try to occupy my time. I keep score at every basketball game I go to, so I'm either doing the scoreboard or the book.
Cool.
And football games, as much as possible, I try to keep the chains because they always need the volunteers. So I just try to keep the chain. I'm not there to second guess the coach. I'm there to occupy my own time.
Well, and then you're not sitting in the stands getting questioned. Hey, the game is, that whole deal too. That's really smart.
Yeah.
What about the kids? What about, as your son now in 8th grade? For me, like as I got older and was playing, when I finished playing, my son was a freshman in high school. But that line, so I know like Kevin Patullo really struggled with this in Philly this year, but it's like, success, it's great. But when there is failure, when there are personal attacks on dad that your kids have to deal with at school, are there everybody any tough conversations with that?
Yeah, I'm always trying to get ahead of it, but we're fortunate we go to a tremendous school where the people are outstanding. And so that is that has not been an issue. And so that's critical when they're not doing that at school. And it's such a good community that way that people take care of us. But I have to be proactive. I remember my son asked me about this national sports guy. Hey, what do you think of what he says? And I said, it's hard to be perfect on everything, but I respect what he says. And he said you should be fired. And I said, well, I don't agree with everything. So, they see that on the ESPN, they see it on whatever. And that's part of the job. And it's going to create a mental toughness for them. That's critical because they're going to face adversity. I love seeing my kids lose games because Brooks is in 8th grade. He's been on some tremendous basketball, football teams. And sometimes they lose in a championship game. And I'm sitting back there thinking, perfect. He threw 2 picks and they lost. Perfect. Because it doesn't need to be all easy going into high school, and you got to have some adversity. And so I'm maybe in the minority sitting in the stands, but there's sometimes where secretly I'm like, let's take those losses, and so you can learn from them before you get in high school.
I think it's a problem even in youth sports now of removing adversity. Oh, we don't like the coach. We're switching clubs.
Everything.
And it's just like, guess what? In life, there's going to be people you don't like that you have to work with.
Yes.
There are. And it's like, I hate that that's become the solution is, well, just go somewhere else. Just go to a different team. It drives me bananas. It's okay for our kids to struggle.
Yeah.
And it's like, I love that you just said that because that's part of it. And then how are you going to react? And then it's going to make the good stuff even sweeter, like it really is.
Yeah.
But I think as parents, sometimes we err in trying to remove all of that from our kids' lives. And I am not a fan of that. We got to fake adversity as much as we can,
No, we need to create all the adversity we can. That's for sure.
And for the coaches, you're not looking over their shoulder at the X's and O's. You're looking at how they encourage the kids and how they make them want to keep coming back to continue to play. Because, high school is supposed to be hard. That's where people might quit because it's hard and the coach is hard on them. But it shouldn't be elementary school and middle school where they determine they don't love the game because of an experience they had with a coach or a fan. That's not the time where that can happen. It doesn't mean you can't be competitive, but that shouldn't be the time where they lose their joy for the game.
Yeah, that is the tough part. I recently had one with one of my sons who just like got frustrated with basketball, and he's like, "Man, I don't know if I love it anymore. I used to love it. I don't love it right now." And it was like heartbreaking, And it's like, all right, hold on. Like let's reassess how you're evaluating yourself as a basketball player. You're in 8th grade. Like, let's calm down, And it's like those are the tough conversations, but. To that point, Zach, I got a chance. I've done a couple of the media talks to, during camp. You have to have these things. I've done them for the Rams, and I got asked to come and kind of talk about that to their team, and it was like I was preparing for that, and I'm going, what am I going to tell these kids who, when I got in the NFL as a young player, like there was no Twitter, there was no you could barely text message for God's sakes when I got in the NFL. So you didn't have any of the world. So I can't tell you like, oh man, what would I do if a fan said what about me as a young player? But how much of that now really has come into coaching, even in the NFL level, is all of these things off the field that people are saying or they're exposed to, that you look at the mental health of guys across the league. It's like, man, just remembering their value and who they are and, why they're special and kind of try to navigate the things they hear when they're away from the building.
Yeah, it's impossible to police and control. We're all human, so we're all affected. We all want people to love us.
We're all affected. Don't act like we're not.
My personal opinion is if a person has not met me and spent time with me, then I do not care what they think about me as a coach or person. It can't affect me. I can't let that affect me. If they haven't sat in here and watched me work for a day or a week or had a meal with me and spent time with me and kind of know me as a person, they can have their opinion all they want and they can be passionate about it, but it's not going to affect me. Now, if somebody knows me, it says something, then that's going to affect me in a negative way because, they know me, and so they think that's But if I haven't met him, then you can't do it. And you know the work you're putting in, only you know it. That's the beauty of the profession. Not everyone's built to do what we do. Not everyone can do it. And so it takes, you got to be really strong mentally to be able to do it. And so that's part of going through the process. And I think our players understand that for the most part. Coaches, I mean, yeah, sure, it affects coaches. And you see a lot of coaches getting fired. And you can't say that none of those coaches got fired because of some, how things were perceived, in the media. I'm sure some owner somewhere was influenced by that. And so you just got to be strong enough to endure it. And I'm grateful we got an organization where they just look at the facts and do we believe in the people or not and support them. And it's a great way to do business. And I appreciate that.
Does Darren walk around like he owns the place? I mean,
has that changed? Is that new?
I've got so much appreciation for Darren. He's been in this division forever.
He's the best.
His attention to detail is unmatched. It's everything is so important to him. And then, so why wouldn't you want a coach and a coordinator and assistant head coach that is on the details like that? And so the respect I have for him, he's critical to anything I want to get done. He's great for me to soundboard off of. And so, yeah, I appreciate Darren. Yeah, he's been here forever. Yeah. So everybody knows him because he came in here with Marvin. And so any player who's come through here in the last 20, I don't know how many years exact, 23 or 24. It's been a long time. It's been a good run for him.
The other great guy every time we're in Cincinnati that's still there is Brick.
Yeah.
Jeff Brick. His roles have changed a little bit, but he was one of my favorites. He was the assistant equipment guy when I was there. But
yeah, he's been in the training room. He's been in the equipment room. He's the ops guy. He does everything for us. And so, you want to talk about hardworking. He works as hard as anybody.
No doubt.
Has to wear a lot of hats and does them all at a high level. And we gave him a game ball, when we beat the Ravens on Thanksgiving. Our flight had gotten delayed the night before, and so no one's going to be more stressed about the plane being delayed.
Oh, Rick.
He's trying to do
freaking out. Yeah.
Play off the ground. I could see his stress level, and the players handled it beautifully. And we all ate Thanksgiving meal at 1 a.m. the morning of that Ravens game, and went out there and won. And so we gave a game ball to Brick after the game, and so I got a lot of love and appreciation for Brick.
He's so humble too. I'm sure he was so embarrassed by it. What about you? Got a favorite spot to eat in Cincy? Whit took me to
a couple
good places.
I've showed you around a little bit.
I got to be careful. I know you've been to both.
Yeah, you're gonna hurt feelings. You got to be careful.
I got to be careful. So I'll center it. I live in Mount Lookout, and so there's a lot of great spots in Mount Lookout that I frequent. And so. I'm at Delwood a lot. Zips. I had Raimundo's Pizza the other day. Guardia. Delwood started a pizza place called Guardia. That's really good. We went to Forno 2 nights ago down there. So I stay in the precinct is Jeff Ruby's, unbelievable. So that's all just right there on Delta and Linwood. I stay in my little area. I don't get downtown very often. I'm a very simple person. I got my 4 kids. I like to hang out at my house, and I'll get down there and get out of Mount Lookout Square and spend some time. So
that's great. Fitz, I actually I had a run-in with the Mount Lookout Tavern one time. It was unfortunate, but
oh no.
Yeah. So this is no joke. I think the year, I'm trying to remember what our record was here. We might've been 12-4 or 11-5, but we had a home game against the Chargers in the playoffs. I think it was either 12 or 13 or 13 or 14. And we're supposed to win. We're hoping for good Cincy weather, first round of the playoffs. And it ends up being like one of those random years where it's like 70 and sunny. Yep. And the Chargers come out, and we literally have one of those games where everything we could do to mess it up, we messed it up. And we lose. So that night, me, Eric Winston, and Clint Bowling, we're, y'all guys know how it is. The season's over. We know tomorrow's the exit meeting. So we're going to go out to dinner, tie one on, and just have a good time with the boys. So everyone goes out. We take the O-line out, do all that. We end up at Mount Look Tavern. And I think at some point, we bring up the game, and I get mad. And I don't remember doing this. I'd had a few too many drinks. And I know this is a shocker. But I may not have broke a TV. I don't know what happened, but somehow a TV got broke. But the best part is I didn't remember doing it. And I a month or 2 months later, Melissa's sitting in the kitchen when I get home one day, and she's like, she goes, "Hey, come here." And I go, "What?" She goes, "Sit down for a second." I go, "Hey, what's up?" She goes, "I got a letter today." And I'm like, "Got a letter today? What does that mean?" And so she reads me this letter from, I think it was the owner of the Mount Lookout Tavern. Hey, listen, we love Whit, blah, blah, blah. Could we get some money for the TV though. Like it was a really nice big screen TV. And I'm like, oh my God, how embarrassing. So anyways, when you said Mount Lookout, that's all I thought about is the Mount Lookout Tavern where I unfortunately apparently.
We paid them. We gave them a game. They got the first ever game ball after we beat the Raiders in the playoffs.
Yes, thank you.
Nice.
Let's go.
So I left out, I didn't mean to leave out Mount Lookout Tavern on that, but trust me, they got the first ever game ball. So
let's go.
They're great.
Well, I want to say, Zach, we appreciate you. I appreciate you becoming friends with Whit because he went from breaking TVs at Mount Lookout Tavern to the Walter Payton Man of the Year after he met you. So we're going to give you a little bit of credit for that.
There we go.
But we appreciate you joining us today, man. We're looking forward to what next year holds, and love watching Joe Burrow play football. So hoping for a healthy season. And can't wait to see where you guys end up next year. So,
I appreciate you having me on.
Appreciate you, brother.
I'm excited for it as well.
All right. Good luck in the draft.
Thank you, baby.
Thank you.
Oh, man. Zac Taylor, Fitz. What a great dude. That was a good conversation. Man, he is a special guy. I can remember him being that young guy on staff that you can just feel has a little special something to him. Like we sat together in the team meetings. He sat back near me. As he recalled, we had a lot of fun sitting back there hoping that Sean McVay didn't call on us with all his acronyms and sayings. So, I mean, it was great. He'd keep the cheat sheet for us. I think Sean's going to now watch them. He's a pod listener for sure. So I'm sure Sean's going to now know that I was cheating on all the things I knew. But listen, great dude and just had something special about him. I'll never forget the Cincinnati Bengals kind of reaching out about their coaching church and telling me some people they had in mind. And I can remember telling them about Zac Taylor, and just the fact that I thought there was just something different about him and the toughness and belief in knowing exactly who he is and not going to be somebody who's going to, back down, and change and like react to people's opinions. He believes in who he is. He had this confidence and swagger to him that I thought made him different. And man, it's really cool to see him, in Cincinnati and having built the offense they have with Joe Burrow and all that talent.
Yeah, I actually really liked what he said when we were talking about I think you're talking a little bit about social media and just we started talking about the criticism, sometimes getting ahead of it with your kids because inevitably as a head coach and a very visible guy, like, it's going to come. But I loved what he said when he said, if I don't know the person, if I don't have a personal relationship with the person, then their opinion doesn't really matter to me. It's those people that you know and you love and you trust. As soon as they start having some unfavorable opinions or start questioning things you're doing, that's when you really start to listen. And I thought that was good advice, just kind of the day and age that we live in. It's so hard with all the negativity on social media and all the back and forth. If it's not coming from somebody that you don't have a personal relationship with, I don't know that you should spend much time on it. I thought that was a good one.
It was. Fitz, I just real quick on that, I would say one of the things, Melissa Whitworthism, I would say, she used to always talk about this, like when she felt like she was immature and changed in her life, is like, even from the flip side of that, is like when I used to have opinions about people that I didn't like or I hated them and I'd never even met them. Is like I realized I was so immature and such a bad way to think about things, and then I've finally changed in life. Like I'm not going to make overall opinions and judgments on people that I've never spent any time with, and I've never even taken the time to get to know them. I think it's so funny how much we allow people in that exact scenario he's talking about, who we've never ever spent any time with, and we have these overall opinions of them, or we allow their opinions and they've never spent time with us to be something we listen to. It's wild to even think it from either side of it when we have no relationship.
And then it is cool just to, and it's something that we always did. And, he's obviously been in Cincinnati for quite a while now, but you pour into the community and you create a community and you insulate yourself a little bit. And with his son getting ready to go to St. X, I know I've had some good friends that went there, but cool when you can establish yourself in a place and have a community and great friends like that. So thank you for bringing him on, Whit. What a good dude. And coaching's in his blood. I like to hear those stories about his dad. And we didn't really get into his brother Press at all. Have you ever been on staff? Or was Press ever on staff with the Rams? No. So you don't really know him very much. I think he's he just signed to be the OC in Chicago.
Yep.
But I'm sure he will be a candidate very soon to be a head coach on the short list, since we're going to have 10 more openings next year. All right, Whit, I have, and I'm going to assume you remember this guy, the beer of the week this week.
Okay. Ted Karras?
No, you're probably not going to know him by the name Gary Faulkner, but this is the Bengals beard guy.
Oh,
you remember him?
I know Gary. We go way back.
Gary!
What up, baby?
But he's iconic. This is an iconic beard. So I know that he's won more awards than just the Fitz and Whit beard of the week.
Yep.
I've gotten the notes here. He claimed third place at the 2019 World Beard and Mustache Championships held in Belgium.
We medaled.
I mean, that's unbelievable.
That's unbelievable. In the world. We're not talking in
world.
Cincinnati, Ohio. We're not talking in the U.S. We're talking in the world.
But it's a commitment. Gary, he commits. He commits to what he does. That's why he's so successful. What a beautiful beard. I wonder when he started doing that. At what age? At what age did he start coloring that thing with Bengal stripes? I don't know. But the matching onto the bald head, do you think he shaves his head or do you think he's bald like you, Whit?
I think it's a little mixture of both, and I definitely shaved my head too, Fitz. I mean, what are you talking about here?
Oh, you could grow it out?
I mean, in parts. There's places that could grow out. Let's put it that way.
By the way,
ooh,
I got a little glimpse of Vegas Whit.
Ooh.
At Tony Gonzalez's birthday this last
you did
weekend.
get a little
Your
glimpse.
hips.
You might got a lot of glimpse. You might have got a lot of glimpse.
You can dance.
Yeah.
You could dance. Your hips move, man. It was impressive.
I know, I hate to break it out. Every now and then you got to show the people, and then when I do, it's trouble because I'm now I'm not going to hear the end of it. And but
no, it's a slippery slope. Then you get a little bit further down and you start breaking TVs, which we found out too. So there was no breaking TVs.
What did Muir call it? Unbuttoned wit. I think
unbuttoned wit.
Finding a new version of each other.
Oh, it was unbuttoned. It was one of those things. I had to kind of walk Liza away because her eyes just started wandering up and down. I said, I can't compete with that. I mean, woo!
The hips are loose,
good, Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad we got to get together for a little bit. Tony Gonzalez is 50 years young.
Baby.
Gosh.
What a good
He
form,
still looks
too.
so dang good. Yeah. But that's it for us. We will be back with all the biggest news from free agency. We'll be back with more special guests. Fitz and Whit is a Wave original. Big thank you to Zac Taylor for joining us. Thanks to our production crew. And thanks again to all you beardos for tuning in. We will see you next time. Peace.
Peace.